All right, everyone. So we just checked. We are good on quorum, and I think we are going to go ahead and get started. Let me get all my stuff here together. All right. And are we good on Zoom? Everyone can hear okay? I assume you can because you didn't tell me you couldn't. But let me know if there's any sound issues. As always, just let me know. And if you want to, I can't always monitor the chat. So just a reminder, if you do want to say something, to raise your hand if you can.
Come here and, perform at a really high level. Also, it's about staying level-headed, staying focused and not letting that.
Okay. I think we're good to go. Okay, welcome everybody to the December meeting. I'm excited to see you all here. Thank you for braving the cold-ish and the finals to be here. We should have a pretty quick meeting today, I think, which is going to be awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Good. Can I get a motion to approve today's agenda? Do I hear a second? All right, no objections. Okay, that passes. So we're going to start today with our invited speaker. TJ Edwards is here, and I've got your slides up in here, like in my, it changed the color of everything, so sorry about that. TJ is the chairperson of the Carolina Union Board of Directors and is here to talk about the union. So come on up, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. So I came to talk about what the Carolina Union Board of Directors has been up to recently. One of our biggest action steps for this year has been trying to get a new Carolina Union built. As we know, the Carolina Union is an old building. It's falling apart, and we have around $8.5 million of repairs that we're gonna have to be doing over the next 5 fiscal years. And that is about double the size of our annual budget. We're going to be able to make this work, but only with fee increases that we were able to secure for this year and most likely upcoming years as well. And this kind of just shows when we go to different universities. I just had an opportunity to go to A&T in Greensboro and see their student union, and it was absolutely beautiful. And it kind of just pointed towards the fact that for the flagship university, the Carolina Union is not a building that represents the prestige and prowess of our school. And it's time that we get a new one. Our building's about 50, 60 years old. So it's in desperate need of honestly rebuilding. And so in 2017, we conducted a feasibility study. I'm sorry that it's a little difficult to see up here on the screen about do students want a new student union? This was a $300,000 studies that was conducted by Vines Architecture. And what we found was that both undergraduate and graduate students thought of the rebuilding of a new student union of at least moderate priority for them. And what we saw about a year after this happened, we got a new vice chancellor for student affairs, and a building that was once on our priority list for the student affairs for buildings being created, we were taken off of that list, despite the data that we were able to collect from this study. And so I want to point a little bit towards what is this building supposed to look like? And so we found that retail, entertainment, services, resource centers, and student organization spaces were really at a high priority for students. And you can see a little bit here what kinds of facilities that would like entail. And we have a little bit more data on like what these would look like for like food places. Students really wanted a cookout. They really wanted like dance studios, spaces, and like also a multicultural center for students. All of, well, minus the cookout, all of which I also saw at the A&T's Student Center. It was very cool to see like BSM like have an office right next to their Latinx center, right next to their LGBTQ center, like all in one suite, and with like gathering spaces included as well. And so what's the plan? My goal is that we're able to pass a bill of support through GPSG and USG. I've had conversations with Lauren and Chris about like getting statements of support released coming in like early February, and also getting a referendum sent through both branches of student government. Oh, well, not through student through both branches, but a referendum included in the spring election to allow students to be able to say, hey, we recognize that getting a new student union is going to have to come with a fee increase. Even though it's not going to be the main source of funding for this building, it's important that students are able to put their money where their mouth is and contribute to the building of this new building. Additionally, I've had the opportunity to meet with Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, Amy Johnson, who seemed to be very like enthusiastic about this project and suggested that we tie this to a new like student recreation center. Chris has told me that like he also plans on setting out a referendum for the spring election about like increasing fees for that new building. And then I've also been meeting with different student organizations to gauge what their support is for a building. And every organization that I've met with so far has been in support of this. And I plan on continuing to meet with these organizations throughout the rest of the academic year. And the last thing is a display that we're going to be creating in the student union. It will be up in the first week of February. I'm currently going on a tour across all the different North Carolina public universities with new student unions. We're gonna get a lot of good footage and pictures of their student unions so we can show students a side-by-side comparison of what our student union looks like versus what student unions across the state look like. And so the presentation will look similar to this, but not exactly the same. And it's going to be a little bit more palatable for the average student and include like a survey for them to fill out so we can get to see like, what do you want to include in this? Like, are you in general support? So then we can like gauge the support before we send out the official referendum the second week of February. I also have plans to meet with the Chancellor, Kevin Guskowitz, in January. And that's about all of the plans for that. And then, of course, the big question is, where is this money coming from? Currently, the Carolina Union does not receive any funds from our alumni or donors. We're not on the list. If you call and try to give money, it can't go to the union. And so like our big plan is to get us on this list and hope that we get some big donors, start an advertising campaign, of course, state bonds, and the much needed fee increase that I was talking about earlier. That is all the information that I had to present, but I would like to open it up to any questions to see if anyone had any questions. Yeah.
This is Joshua Bakita, computer science. I forget, I was in a CUBD or the board of directors meeting a couple of years ago. What was the estimated cost for the new union again?
So it was about $350 million. Now, to be fair, with the prices of like lumber and construction since like 2020, with hyperinflation happening, it is probably going to be much higher than this $350 million, like maybe in the 5 to 7 range, to be honest.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
William Boyer from Library Science. Do you know at this time, like how much of an increase it would be per student?
That's a good question. Honestly, I think that it would be in the 3 to 5% range. Like I don't think like for student union fees. So that's probably like $6 to $10, somewhere around there. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you press the microphone?
This replacing the current one, or is this going to go somewhere else?
My personal belief is that it should replace the current one. And so when we conducted this study back in 2017, that was the finding that Vines Architecture also had, was to completely tear down this building and rebuild it.
So circling back on the percentage increase, $500 million works out to over $16,000 per student over the lifetime of any loans to build a new union. What magnitude of funds do you think you're going to be able to raise from donors to be able to support that level of expense and keep fee increases small?
I think that our goal is going to be around, like, we haven't discussed like specific percentages like in great detail, but we're looking for the large bulk of the funds for this building to be coming from donors and state bonds. Like our goal is to keep the student fee like cost at as low as possible, because honestly, we cannot raise enough money for this building through student fees alone. It is mainly because the administration wants this to see this being a student-led effort. And so they also want students to put money towards it. I think that NC State is paying around like $15, $16 for a tally currently.
In looking at the maintenance deferral issue that we have and the amount that, I don't know at the last number, but I know as of like April, August, it was like $1.1 billion behind, or that much. How like this is going to significantly increase that, and so like how should this be prioritized over like items like Chancellor Guskowitz talked about, like student housing and like education facilities?
I think that's a really good question. To me personally, as someone who works in the student union, it's a very high priority. I think that the student union is like the building that people think about when they first come to Carolina. Like every single orientation group is like based out of it. Every tour group goes to the union. So like when we talk about like bringing in new students and the student experience, a lot of that is centered around the Carolina Union. Now, I also lived in the dorms and I know what that experience is like. So I can't say that I want that the new student union to be like ahead of all the dorms, but this is just one building and we have many more dorms. Yeah.
My question is, so the fee increase, would 100% of the fee increase go to this, or would some of it also just go to the general operating budget of the union?
We're looking for a specific fee increase just for this. Like we are also requesting like independent fee increases that go towards the maintenance of the building, but there would be a cost associated directly with the building of this new building.
What's the plan for while the building is being rebuilt or going on already in the union? What's the plan for that?
Yeah, so this is something that I've thought about a lot, and to keep it the most candid, the answer is that the administration makes the final decisions about how they're going to relocate all the operations of the union. I certainly will have like suggestions, and mine is that a lot of orientation, for instance, should be happening in the classrooms anyway, since most of them are not in use like over the summer. But like this is not something that's going to be built in a summer. And so like where these students are going during the school year is a much larger question that is going to have to be like decided by people like the chancellor and the vice chancellor of student affairs.
Can you ask them to unmute themselves? If they can't, we can do it, but if they can. I think that's good then.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us. Oh, I actually see a raised hand that just popped up. So sorry, I'm going to bring you back for one more question. Kendall, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. This is Kendall Winter, Musicology. My question more has to do with staffing demands that any new building would require. I understand that what you've explained is that the administration isn't interested in helping with funds to put up the new building, but I'm wondering where they stand on providing salaries for or wages for people who will work doing things like staffing a bowling alley and a cookout and printing services and things. And I bring this up simply because I noticed in the minutes for the most recent board of directors meeting that's available, which is from October, had interviews with union employees who said that they wished that they had better training and higher wages. So I'm just wondering if if we're proposing to create a building with so many more services and offerings and things that we'll need staff for, who's going to be paying them livable wages, which they don't seem to be getting in the current building that we have. Thanks.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question, and it's something that I've been working very closely with the director of the Carolina Union to solve. And so the first thing that I can say is that I was able to secure a $2 wage raise for all Carolina Union student employees starting in the fall of 2024. And the second thing is that we're also working towards like trying to get a $15 minimum wage for all student employees across campus established. And so like while starting at $11.50 is a great start, I have another presentation that I would love to come in and talk to you guys about, specifically about student employee wages and how like in order to graduate debt-free from this university, even with $14,000 of like free aid, you would need to make $17.51. And so like we are far away from this goal. And so that's something that's going to require more and more fee increases. About 2% of the 8% of our fee increase that we were able to secure for the Carolina Union, so like 25% of our total fee increase was dedicated towards increasing the wages for student employees in the Carolina Union. And so the goal is to be able to continue to do this process incrementally and allow the Carolina Union to act as the figurehead for like increasing wages for student employees campus-wide.
Thanks for that.
Actually, one more comment that made me think of one other thing too. I think something that would be great, because I assume you're going to bring this as I guess a resolution to the next Senate meeting, would be including some information about peer institutions, like comparable fees. Because my napkin math backhand understanding of this is that we pay like way less per student in student fees than NC State, than well Duke's private, but like than other comparable sized public universities in the UNC system. So I think that would be a good piece of information to include maybe in that too. I think it'd be compelling. So
Yeah, certainly. I actually did the math a couple of months ago, and we're at like 50-60% depending on the institution. So we are much lower than all of our peer institutions.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much again.
Yeah,
I
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
I appreciate it.
All right. Moving on, we don't have anyone for open forum, right? You can, if you, I'll time you for 2 minutes. I'll let you go. Yeah, it should be going.
All right, just really quickly, I have a resolution that I sent to SOGAT, but it's not being considered yet. So we get back for next semester. So I just want to throw this out. I offered a resolution to ask the university to make period products available in all bathrooms across campus free. If anyone is interested in that, has any input, would like to sign on to the bill, just shoot me an email. My name is Ben King. You can look me up and you can find me, but that's all I had.
Sweet, 30 seconds. Good stuff. Awesome. Anyone else? Nothing? Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to legislation. We have a pretty short docket today. We're going to see 3 bills, and we're going to start with 54-014, a bill to fund GPSG appropriations request for November. Just give me 1 moment and I will share that on the screen as well. But whoever, if you want to go ahead and start introducing the bill while I pull it up, go ahead.
Yes, so this is just our regular November appropriations bill. This cycle we had 2 applicants and both of them applied for social appropriations and we awarded both of those in full. So we spent a total of $600 this month.
You were too fast for me. Here we go. All right, here is the bill. I'll scroll through it once just so everyone can see it, but it is available also on Canvas. Are there any questions? Go ahead.
I'm Joshua Bakita, Senator for Computer Science. Asking this question publicly, and I've forgotten, but I think it'd be helpful to ask generally, is can appropriations only be for events or could they be for other sorts of things?
They can be for other sorts of things depending on what they are. We just had a request or a potential request coming for a fundraiser and we've determined that that is available for appropriations. So yeah, it just depends what you have in mind. We're happy to hear your ideas.
Thank you.
Yeah, my understanding is it's more about the what the money can be spent on, less about like the event itself in terms of eligibility. Question over Zoom. Kendall, go ahead.
Kendall Winter, Musicology. I think my question maybe needs to be directed to Katie first, just to see if it's okay at this point in the meeting to ask a question of appropriations that is not germane to the bill itself. Does that make sense?
I would
Or
say
save
let's
it to
leave that
updates?
for updates later in the meeting, if that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. That's why I wanted to start with asking that. Thanks.
All right, any other questions? Good, good stuff. All right, we're now going to move to 54-015, which is the travel awards. Bill and active fund travel awards for cycle 3 closed November 25th. Nick, go ahead if you want to introduce this.
Yep, sure. This is our traditional travel bill. So these are all the travel awards that we had received from our previous meeting to November 25th. So with that, we received 12 applications, of which we decided to fund 4 of them. The vast majority of them we funded. I think 3 out of the 4 we funded in the full amount. When we look at our budget here, we currently have allocated out $17,975, and we have $17,000 remaining for the next 3 cycles. So we're about halfway through, which is good. So it puts us in a good position for the upcoming cycles, which will probably be getting much busier with applications. So I think we're in a good spot where we are with that. And so with that, I will take any questions.
Questions in the room? Questions on Zoom? Great, that's it. Okay, thank you. Okay, and now we're going to move on to our last bill that has a very cute name, which is the Vital Incentives for Boosting Engagement in Student Town Halls Act, or the VIBES Act. And I think Riley is also the sponsor, so you can introduce this too.
Yes, so I co-wrote this bill with my co-senator Ben King. Basically what this bill does is it puts wording into the code that will reward senators for hosting a second town hall. So as we've heard in recent Senate meetings, we do think that it'd be useful for senators to host a second town hall. So in order to incentivize that, we have created language that rather than requiring a second town hall, will award 5 participation points to any senator or representative unit that chooses to host a second town hall within the same legislative session. These participation points, as you know, then go towards your allocations at the end of the year. In this bill, there's no time requirement, which is one thing I want to know. So technically you could host them back to back, which is something that I do think should be revisited next year. But considering this is going to take effect during the second semester, we didn't feel the need to put a time limit on it for this legislative session. And I'm happy to take any questions that anyone might have. Actually, before questions, there's one thing that I forgot. I would actually like to move by unanimous consent that we I fix an error in the bill under section 1, line 1. There's actually a typo where it says awards. Actually, up, Katie, under section 1.
Oh.
Under awards, it should actually be awarded. So that's just a typo.
Sure. Well, let me download this so we can make some fixes. Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, Nick Melosi, Health Policy Management. The biggest question I have on this one is that does this bill address, or do you know how it would be impacted if we do host a second one? Is there funding available for that? Because I believe the coding right now says funding for 1, but if we wanted to host a second one, does this do anything to address getting funding for a second town hall?
I was under the impression that it's always been an option to host a second town hall and receive funding for the second town hall. So I don't think that this bill obviously doesn't change anything about that. But if we find that that isn't true, I'm happy to revisit that at a later date.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Kendall, go ahead.
Apology. I just wanted to propose an amendment that an enacting clause be added to section 2. It currently doesn't have one. So I could put a suggestion in the chat. Is that the best way to do it? I don't know how best it would be for the bill's author to see it.
Why don't you put it in the chat and then I can put it on the screen.
Okay.
And then everyone can read it. That would probably be the easiest, unless you just want to read it out loud, I guess is the other option.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little gun shy. I super don't want to just like rattle off code like ad lib. So I will put something in the chat real quick.
Cool. I'll paste it in so you can see the potential amendment, and then we can look at that. Yeah, Joshua.
Joshua Bakita, Computer Science. Assuming, are we now in discussion of a proposed amendment?
I'm awaiting the amendment. So
I will
no, we're just still
withhold
in general
question.
discussion.
Yeah, I actually don't know if we resolved my initial amendment about the,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Grammar.
I did that I got confused that was yes. Thank you for helping me.
I second the motion.
There's a second. So this is the motion to fix the word awards to awarded. There's a second. Do I hear any objections? All right, that passes by unanimous consent, and I will change this right here to ED. Joshua, go ahead.
So I have an amendment that may be considered friendly. Rather than saying hosting additional town halls and then have a clause stating that it can't be more than one, could we just delete item 2 there and just say hosting an additional town hall equals 5 points, and then just have item 1 so that we can reduce code bloat?
yes, I would consider that friendly.
Okay. Okay, so that's, tell me again. So it's striking.
So strike 2, and then in the bolded heading for the whole section, add the word an additional town hall rather than halls.
Quick question on interpretation, if that's allowed.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Does that amendment mean that a senator can host an unlimited number of additional town halls and farm points that way, or is there intended to be a limit on that? As in
So
it's
my
just the
understanding from that
first.
amendment was that the wording would say, so you can earn 5 points for hosting a second town hall, meaning that that doesn't include a third town hall. Was my understanding of that interpretation.
Yeah, I'm just worried about how precisely. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I'd be so impressed if someone wants to have like 6 town halls. Be awesome with monthly town. Okay. I see someone else has their hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say one additional instead of an additional. How about that?
Can you say that one more time? Sorry, I couldn't quite hear you.
Saying one additional town hall instead of an additional town hall?
What is that friendly?
Yes.
I guess so.
Cool. Okay. We'll call it hosting one additional instead of an additional. Great. Thank you. Okay, I saw Kendall put the text in the chat. So I'm gonna just paste it in here just so you all can read it. It's not official. And then so you can all consider this amendment. Where exactly should this go?
Is that a question to me?
Yes.
Section 2 needs an enacting clause. So it would be before the header, after
Oh, I
section
see.
2, before appendix D.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll fix the formatting, but it reads, be it further resolved and enacted that the GPSG code be amended by inserting the following text. So that there is now a proposal to, to add that as an amendment.
That's a friendly amendment.
All right, I'll fix the formatting, like the sizing of the text in a second. But is there any other question? Oh, you're off to the side.
There we go. Okay. I was just wondering if you had spoken to the committee that's working on thinking about town halls again, or if you just decided to do this on your own.
Yeah, so I attended their R&J's regular monthly meeting as well as their special meeting that focused it solely on the Better Town Hall bill. And from that discussion is what directly stemmed this bill.
Yeah, I'll also add a point of clarification that I think technically SOGAPS would also be the committee that would consider this, like would consider town halls, but I don't think that I don't think they're like required necessarily for this bill to go through their committee in order to make it here. So just for point of clarification. Yeah, go ahead.
Come on. William Boyer for Library Science. Question for the author. What in taking in Katie's earlier comment about like having 6 town halls, like why would there be a limiting factor for either point, like definitely for monetary, because we don't have unlimited funds, that's very understandable. But for points wise, why is there only limiting to 5 additional points?
So are you asking about the number of town halls or the number of points awarded per town hall?
Number of points, that's completely fine, but like why only 1 additional town hall? If like somebody wanted to host one like every semester and they provided their own funding, like why not give them like 60 extra points or like?
Yeah, so I think that probably a reason for that is because units like ours exist and senators like us exist. And if that was an option, we would be hosting a town hall twice a month, every month of legislative session, because we like to accrue points. So I think that that is why, yeah.
I like that honesty. Kendall on Zoom, go ahead.
Thanks. I'd like to just put on my R&J committee member hat here in to help answer that most recent question about why we capped the points. This is, well, or excuse me, why the author capped the points. We in R&J didn't do that. There's also precedent for this. If you read through the rest of that appendix, there are points awarded for things like authoring legislation, but not unlimited, not in an unlimited way. I think it's only for the first 3 pieces of legislation. And then after that, you can go buck wild authoring legislation, but you aren't going to continue earning points in for that, if that makes sense. So it's not an unprecedented thing to offer points for something, but not for every instance of that thing in your duties as a senator.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments or questions? All righty. Just give me 1 second here to get back to our PowerPoint. So that is the end of legislation, and I have to say, impressed timing wise, everybody. Sorry, I'm doing this one-handed. So I believe now that we've ended discussion on all of those bills, we you now can all go vote on HeLife. I believe the ballot, the election should be open. Someone check, but I think I set it to open at 6. Is it open? Oh, perfect. Okay, now it's open. All right. Of course, as always, if anyone is having any issues voting, please let me know. If anyone doesn't have access or something's not working, raise your hand and I can come over there. I saw one hand. Lauren, do you want to go see if you can help them with the HeLife in the back? I think it was Benjamin. All right. So in the meantime, while we're voting, we're going to go through announcements. We're going to start with GPSG President Lauren Hawkinson. Do you want to, you can come, okay, perfect, yes. Thank you. Hello,
Katie.
everyone.
Sorry, just a quick question before that. On the second, I don't know if this matters, but on the second item of the ballot, there's a combined no abstain option instead of separately no and abstain. Is that normal?
Nope, that's a typo.
Okay.
I will fix it while Lauren is talking. Thank you for letting me know.
Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. Just a few updates from me this month. First, the Vice President of Finance resigned last week. So I am looking for a new Vice President of Finance. The QR code that links to the Heal Life application is here. You can also just go to Heal Life and find the application. You can apply. There's an option in the application to apply yourself or nominate someone else. So as a point of clarification, if you are a current senator, you would have to if you should get this position, you would have to resign your senator post. You cannot serve as a senator and as vice president of finance. So if you're interested in this position and are a current senator, you'd have to leave that post to do this. However, I am just asking for your help. If you're not interested, if you know of people who are interested, please go in and nominate them and share the link widely to your constituents. The application will be open until January 6th at 11:59 p.m. I'll be conducting interviews January 8th through the 11th. And it's my intention to have a nomination bill in front of you all at the first meeting of the new semester. Currently, we have Joel Begay filling in as our interim treasurer. During the last Board of Trustees meeting in November, Chris and I collaborated on our remarks to bring attention to the state of the Student Recreation Center. And the Board of Trustees were all ears. They are very interested in making improvements to the Student Recreation Center. And so part of that is a plan to tour the Student Recreation Center in January. So I'm pretty excited about that and glad that they are listening to student needs there. You all should have gotten an email earlier this week from Lauren, forwarded from Jake, about the Gallagher report. It has finally been released. There are links in that email to the full report, as well as kind of an executive summary if you don't want to read the whole report. I would highly recommend, at the very least, reading the executive summary. As Jake said in his email, the Board of Governors are very interested in enacting the recommendations because it's going to save them a bunch of money. However, then on the flip side, we need to make sure that none of our insurance offerings are decreased. Essentially, we need to make sure that we're still being provided with the level of care that we're at right now, if not more, because they're going to be saving money. So what are they going to do with that extra money? So I just have up here, our advocacy is going to be really important here over the next few months when they have listening sessions. I encourage you to go. I encourage you to tell your constituents to go. I intend to bring this up at the next Association of Student Governments meeting, which is when all of the student government leaders from all of our UNC system schools meet. That's in early January, because it's really going to need to be a coordinated advocacy effort, not just as individual campuses, but as the UNC system as a whole, to advocate for graduate student insurance. And then finally, I have graduate and professional student well-being project. Really excited to tell you all that the steering committee for this is meeting December 12th to finalize the various subcommittees. And I'm excited about our next steps. I can't I'm not allowed to share too much yet on what is included in the draft charge, but it is pretty extensive and ambitious and has already been signed off on by both the provost and the chancellor. So really excited. Hopefully I can share more with you at the January meeting about what's included in there. But we're taking steps in the right direction. That's all I have for updates, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them. Yeah, Joshua.
Joshua Bakita, computer science. I'm curious if you have any awareness of the general status in regards to Kevin's potential rumored departure or not.
I do not, unfortunately. I will say personally, I would be really saddened to see him go. I think he's done an excellent job leading our campus through some pretty tough situations over the last several years. And I think he's been a great advocate for the students and the faculty and has done an excellent job navigating that difficult space between Board of Trustees, faculty, and students, as well as our legislature. So I think him leaving would be a huge loss to the university and the North Carolina system. Thank you all. Good luck with finals. Awesome. Thanks, Lauren. If anyone's having trouble with Zoom, not Zoom, HeLife, by the way, a couple of people weren't had to get re-added and we did add them. So if that was your issue, if you're still having an issue though, please let us know. Don't let us close it without you getting to vote. Okay. Also message Lauren because Lauren's work. Lauren, yes, thank you. Pro tempore Lauren. Can you try refreshing? Did anyone successfully vote? Okay, so it's working for some people, so it's not just completely broken. Okay, give it a couple more tries, and we will let Chris do his updates, and then if it doesn't work, we'll continue to troubleshoot. Chris, you can come up here. Let everyone see your pretty face.
Thank you. Good to see everyone. I don't have a lot of updates either, so I'll keep it very, very brief. The main thing that my admin is working on, we're having a series of holiday events. So tomorrow we're gonna have free cookies from Insomnia and hot chocolate in the student government suite tomorrow, which is decorated as well. And that's from 5 to 7:30 p.m. So feel free to come out and get some cookies. We're also doing some things as well with the town of Carborough, some staff appreciation events, which is super exciting, giving some gift bags, I believe. My chief of staff has worked very diligently on that. So looking forward to celebrating the holidays. Unlike the Hawkinson administration, my undergraduate treasurer did not resign. So he'll be remaining. No, which is great, guys, which is great. I was just trying to draw a antithesis, you know what I mean? Okay, maybe it didn't work. Anyway, so he's staying. This is good news. Oh, I thought y'all knew. So anyway, so Logan Grotsky is our undergraduate treasurer. He said he was going to resign at the end of this semester if he could find a replacement, but he didn't find one. And so he said now he's gonna stay. I thought that was known. Maybe it wasn't. Okay, so that's the tea behind that. So he'll be here. Anyway, is this recorded? Okay, great. I'll call him later. I also did have a meeting a few weeks ago with the Sumati president at Florida State University about ACC Advocacy Days. So my director of state and external affairs is working on that, and that'll be in DC in early February. Like Lauren said, ASG is also early January. I think that's at App State, I think. And BOT is also next month. Don't know when those dates are either, but they're on the website somewhere. Any questions? Anything?
Question. Actually, no, I don't. Just kidding. I'll ask you later.
Anyone? If not, happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. All right. Next, we're going to do updates from standing committees. What would it be? Okay, y'all are figuring it out in the chat. Okay. Sorry, reading and thinking at the same time. Let's do our updates. Let's go ahead and start with oversight and accountability. If you want to give your update.
Yeah, so our last meeting was concerning kind of a tricky affair that involved investigating a member of the executive committee. And ultimately, we had initially made a recommendation for the process to begin on their removal, and they resigned. So thankfully we didn't have to go through that. But that's what most of our activities have been for the past few weeks, is gathering evidence in that process and reviewing it.
All
Sorry,
right,
can
thank
everybody
you.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, good.
Cool. Any questions? None. Okay. Oh, Joshua.
Joshua Pakita, computer science. Z, I just wanted to thank you for the good work your committee is doing, and it's nice to see ONA taking a more active role this year. So thank you.
Yes, of course.
Absolutely. We
do not take these things lightly, is what I want to say. But obviously, it's not great to have. I think it would be optimal if we had no work at all, other from reviewing nominations, because that means everything is going well. But we're happy to step in, of course, and fill our responsibilities. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. SOGAPs, do you want to go next?
Duncan McLean, Physics and Astronomy, reporting for the SOGAPS committee. So SOGAPS's primary project the last month has been working on issues related to the Graduate Student Bill of Rights, or I should say the draft Graduate Student Bill of Rights. We are very thankful for the work that President Lauren Hawkinson has done on that, and talking to the administration and working with the steering committee on this on the current draft charge and whatever's going to end up being in that. So we're eagerly awaiting updates on basically what the administration has already signed off on, and we want to make sure that input from senators and from the student body is well considered in the final language that ends up getting put into this. So when we talk about the Bill of Rights, we're talking about things that the university acknowledges are the graduate students need, and responsibilities that we have in an adversarial context and that advisors have to us. So we appreciate any input on that. We're looking for it. We've also worked on we're also working on assembling anonymized survey information so that we can look towards some resolutions and other legislation on campus safety, which is our other big priority at the moment.
Any questions for SOGAPs? Nothing. All right. Travel awards.
Hi, all. Nothing terribly exciting within travel awards to report. I think we're well within our budget on things to get moving forward. Right now, we're hitting a little bit of a lull, which is kind of the traditional form. November and December tend to turn down as people get ready for finals and holidays. So we generally start picking up January, February again. So that's kind of what we're expecting. On another note, we're still discussing figuring out what we want to do for updating our current grading criteria. I went back through and it looks like the grading criteria that we're working with is from 2015. So I definitely think we are in need of an update. The current travel committee has reviewed kind of what was discussed last year's committee, but we haven't made any formal recommendations on what we're thinking we want to update yet, since we're still kind of reading through and trying to figure out, based on what we currently have to what, we're working with, where do we think we want to go with that? So that's the update from travel, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions? All right, appropriations.
All right, yes, similar to travel awards, appropriations has had a bit of a lull in this last cycle. As I mentioned before, we only had 2 applications. We awarded a total of $600 this month, leaving $2,000 in our social appropriation budget and $19,874.75 in our general appropriations budget. Happy to take any questions anyone has.
Kendall, go ahead.
Psychology. I was wondering if you could give us an update on the point that was raised a few months ago about potentially working with the finance committee to collapse the separate budgets for social appropriations and general appropriations into a single fund. Is that going forward? And if so, can you give us an update on what that looks like at this point?
Sure. Yeah, it's going forward. It's just a matter of getting it to, I guess, SOGAP's committee first. It's pretty simple. We're taking out 2-3 sentences in the code, and that's pretty much all it takes. So it should be relatively straightforward.
Wonderful. Thanks.
Awesome. Any other questions? Rules and Judiciary.
Hello. So we are just kind of wrapping up a lot of the things that we've been working on this semester. So the main thing was the town hall bill, which we had our special meeting on, and we touched upon it in the meeting prior to. Got a lot of good feedback. It was like a 2-hour kind of meeting, and we had decent participation. So I'm glad / happy that we had senators who weren't formally part of the committee who came and spoke and shared their piece. So Kendall has taken those and is currently working on revisions, and I think that the current timeline we're looking at is likely to have it on the February agenda, or we'll vote on it in January or February, and if it makes it out of committee, then you guys will see it then. But if you still have comments or are interested in seeing drafts, then you can always reach out to me or likely Kendall, and we can share those updates with you as they're made. And then I've reached out to Abigna. I still think I'm waiting to hear back about some of the surveys received from members of the executive branch on their jobs and how they feel their jobs currently are properly or improperly suited with the language of the current code, and we'll be addressing that in the spring semester, as well as going through an annual review of the code, which we have a rough outline of how we're going to break that down, but we'll formalize in the spring as we get new schedules from all of the committee members and can set up some dates. And so likely we'll be increasing our meeting frequency. But as of now, we have pretty much concluded most of the work that we're going to do for this semester. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Awesome. Any questions from the room? Any questions on Zoom? I think everybody might be asleep, but that's okay. Okay, thank you so much, Nick. Let's round it out with finance.
Katie. Hi, everyone. So let's see here. This is Joel. Finance Committee. We've received a total of 3 town hall funding requests this semester. From my understanding, there should be, I don't think there are any other scheduled town halls. At least we haven't received funding requests for the remainder of the semester. There are 54 representative units in the Senate this year. So we anticipate approximately 51 town halls next semester. So the committee anticipates meeting twice a month starting in January. And that being said, we do have our newest committee member, that is Owen Courtney. So welcome. And we're glad to have you on board. And like Katie mentioned, and Lauren as well, President Lauren, I'll be helping out with VP Finance activities and duties until that position is filled. Any questions?
Any questions? Any questions on Zoom? Oh, Kendall, go ahead.
Katie, come on. No, sorry, Kendall Winter Musicology. I just wanted to know whether anyone who submits a town hall funding application form over the break, when you think the committee would be able to give them a decision on that? You know, for example, planning an event in early January.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the committee currently has a operating rule where we can vote via email. We have a finance committee meeting next week. And so I can certainly gauge committee members' availability over the next month or so in the interim between the winter or the fall and spring semester. But I don't anticipate it being too much of an issue, especially if the event is it's either at or below the threshold of $120. So just as a reminder to all senators, which is that if your town hall funding request is either $120 or less, it being your request does not require a full committee review. It would just be reviewed by the chair, in which case we can get you a pretty quick turnaround time. Otherwise, if it exceeds that $120 threshold, we typically request for a budget justification. The full committee will review that request and get back to you as soon as possible. Typically, we ask for at least 2 weeks notice for any funding for town halls. So plan accordingly. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, more than answers my question. Thank you very much.
May you all take this as a warning that you need to be thinking about your town halls soon. I'll leave it at that.
And just really quickly as well, a quick plug for those who have already hosted their town halls, please be sure to submit your town hall reports. Thank you.
Definitely. Yeah, if anyone has a question, they can raise their hand. I'm not sure. I don't think anyone can hear is the problem. Can whoever asked the question in the chat, can you unmute and because no one can hear for us?
I don't know if you're talking about my question. I put it in the chat because we had passed ONA, but since there was some action towards removal of an officer, I was wondering if there was any like formal findings that were published, or is it just recommended we scour through the minutes? Just would like to know what the Oversight and Accountability Committee found that led them to make the recommendations that they had started towards. Just curiosity.
Yeah, so we will publish minutes because technically I was taking minutes and chairing the meeting and hearing evidence at the same time, so the minutes are not as extensive as I would like them to be. What we found was that based on the code, there was like dereliction of duty in several of the areas that the finance officer is accountable for, primarily in preparing and maintaining the budget for the year, as well as in processing and fulfilling the obligations of the GPSG as dictated by the Senate and the president, right? And that a lot of that has to do with responsiveness to reimbursements, the processing time for reimbursements, and other financial expenditures that were being paid out by the GPSG, as well as answering questions and resolving, difficulties with the process, right? And the people, some of the evidence was presented to us by other members of the Senate, right? I don't know if they would want to speak up right now if they wish to. If not, I would just say that it was a lot of delays in responses that created friction in the way that financial affairs were being processed by the GPSG. Is that answered a general question? Or
yeah,
do you
no,
want more?
that's perfect. I didn't need to see the evidence or anything, just hearing like what the specific things were that counted towards the general terminology of, failing to execute one's duty properly. Like your summary was what I was looking for. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And then with that, I think that is going to be it for updates from the standing committee chairs. I'm wondering if anyone else was not able to vote at this point. Okay, if anyone at this point has not been able to get the election to work at all, will you please email me your vote? Me being, you can just do GPSG Senior Vice President and also President Pro Temp email us your vote, and we will take it and it will count as an official vote, because I don't want to be here all night trying to figure this out. So if anyone else still was not able to vote, please email myself and the President Pro Temp, please. And we will count your vote that way. There's also, of course, always the GPSG leadership updates. I just got them like a bit before the meeting, and so I haven't been able to upload them, but I'll do it after the meeting tonight. This has updates from all of the executive leadership, the things that they've been doing this month, so definitely worth looking at. And then I just have a couple of quick announcements, a couple of things. We have a YouTube channel now. So that's cool. It's called UNC GPSG. So we are YouTubers now officially, everybody. That's exciting. All of the Senate meeting recordings are now going to be uploaded to the YouTube channel. And additionally, the town hall workshop and legislation workshop that were held last month, recordings of those workshops are now available. So if you didn't get the ability to go, which most of you did not, please watch those, especially if you're a new senator and you haven't done these things before. It's especially the town hall one in particular. I think I did a good job personally. So please, they're like less than 30 minutes. You can put me at 2 times speed. I think it'll be really helpful. The other thing I want to mention is I have a new resource that we created to help all of you with just some of our general, like, how do reimbursements work and how does it work to use the P card and stuff like that. We have a new document called the GPSG funding processes. It is in, I will email it to you all in the notes, but it's also can be found in Canvas under resources. It can also be found in Canvas just under today's meeting. This is also a link you can click and it will take you there. If you have a question about any type of funding that we offer, this should be a quick guide to help you get started. And then of course, always feel free to email us with questions about that. Oh, this is not right. Oops. That is not when our meeting is. Sorry. Our first meeting of 2024 is going to be on January 16th at 5:30. The meeting is going to be in CARE 2001, which is the room directly above this room, but same building, same place. At 5:30, same time. As always, GPSG appropriations and travel awards applications are due for the next cycle. And do we have, I guess we'll close the ballot here. I'll get the official counts if any of you emailed me after the meeting. Absolutely. Let me see what Luke's gonna say. Okay, you do your announcement first.
Yeah, so some people are telling me they didn't get my email from the Gallagher report. So if you didn't get it, can you please email me? I'll send it to you directly.
Cool.
Okay, everything passed by a wide margin. The bills to fund appropriations and travel awards were both unanimous, 49 votes yes. The vibes bill passed by a wide margin as well, 44 yes, 3 no, 2 abstain.
Okay. Fantastic. I think that should be everything. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Do I hear a second? All right, at 6:44, we're done. Good stuff, y'all. Thank you everyone on Zoom. I cannot wait to see you in January. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday, survives finals well enough. And if you don't take pizza on your way out, I'm gonna judge you. So please take extra pizza. Please take extra pizza. Thank you.